Hey sewers! My name is Kimberly and this is the YouTube channel for Pattern Niche, formerly New Horizons. Today we're talking about hemming. If you like today's video, make sure you give it one of those thumbs up. And to keep up to date with everything on our channel, just go ahead and click that subscribe button down below. Whether you're sewing with knits or wovens, there's a variety of types of hems that you can use in order to finish the edges of your garments. First, I'm going to start with the blind hem. This is most often used on skirts and dress pants, and it gives you an invisible finish on the outside while your hem is still stitched securely on the inside. You need to have a blind hemming foot, which is going to look similar to this one here. As you can see, it has a guide piece. Sometimes this is a piece of metal that kind of comes up in an L shape over the top. And then it's got a little screw that you can adjust it and move it, and then otherwise it looks pretty much like a standard foot. The first thing we need to do is finish the edge of our fabric so that it doesn't fray. And then you simply press up, the amount of hem that you desire on the bottom of your garment. The next thing we want to do is ensure that we have the correct stitch selected. You can see here there are two types of blind hem stitches. This one here with the straight stitches in between the little V's, that's for woven fabrics. And this one here that has the zigzag between the two V's is for stretch fabrics. I'm using a woven fabric today, so I'm going to choose this stitch. Now we're going to start, as you can see here, I have my edge pressed up as to where I want to hem. But if we just simply put it in like this, it doesn't work. What we need to do is fold it back again the other way. So you can see there's my original hem fold. We've folded it back towards the right side, leaving just about 1/4 inch exposed over here of the raw edge. So this is a wrong side, this is a wrong side, and then this is a right side folded against the right side. Some people think blind hems are complicated. They really aren't. Once you've figured out which way the folds have to go, they are easy peasy. So I'm just going to set my fabric into my machine, and that fold that I've just made is going to go along this little guide. So what the purpose of that is it's going to make some stitches along this little bit of raw edge here, and then every once in a while it'll go over and catch part of our main fabric, but it'll just catch a little bit. So that way on the outside you don't see the stitching, but on the inside that you do. And as you're stitching, make sure that you maintain that original fold, and then you're just having an extra little sandwich fold of the main fabric to catch as you go. And then when you unfold it back the other way, sometimes you'll have to flatten it out a little bit. But there you have a blind hem where you don't really see the stitches on the right side of the fabric, but your hem is securely attached. Next, I want to talk about the standard hem. So again, we're going to finish the raw edge of our fabric so that it's not fraying once the garment is complete and gets washed and everything. And again, just press up the amount of hem allowance that you are wanting to turn up so that it's a nice, already turned up. Some people will pin that. Depending on the garment, sometimes it's easier to stitch than others. And then we're going to make sure we choose a long straight stitch to do the hemming with. Insert my garment into the machine. I don't know if you can see here, I've got little ticks on my presser feet. That's what I'm going to follow this raw edge of my hem to, and that'll make it stitch about 1/8 inch from the edge. Some presser feet don't have that, so you can choose kind of any mark You want to stay as close as you can. If you're using a serger to finish your edge, some people will just follow that line of stitching right there. Whatever you choose to do, just stitch fairly close to the edge, within about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, and you can just stitch it in place. Now, usually you're going to be doing hems in the round, so I generally speaking don't backstitch at the beginning, and then when I come back around, I will overlap the stitches and then do my backstitch to keep everything secure. And then we just stitch. Make sure if you're pinning that you're not stitching over your pins, because you wouldn't want your pin to break and break your needle. If the needle breaks, sometimes the little end below the thread will pop off and can hit you in the eye. And if you hit the pin into the machine, it can cause some very costly repairs. So make sure you're not stitching over pins. And there we have our standard hem. The next hem that I want to speak about is a rolled hem. Now this one uses a special foot that has this little fold over bit in the middle. If your machine doesn't have that, quite often they're available to purchase separately. And then you would just use this foot with a standard long straight stitch once again. And again, usually you're doing this in the round. So you would insert your fabric into the foot so that it starts to go up into that fold over bit. And then all you need to do is give it a bit of a fold over ever so slightly along the edge, and the foot will do the rest. Now for this one, we do not finish the raw edge first because it gets actually enclosed inside of this hem. And if you're doing this in the round, when you come back to the beginning, the foot will automatically just kind of continue folding until where it has already folded, and then you can just continue stitching straight across. And there we have our nice rolled hem. Next, I want to speak to you about the Serger-rolled hem. This can be used on woven fabrics, but it works really especially well on knit fabrics as well. And just follow your machine's directions and set it up for the rolled hem. You want to make sure that this little finger here, I don't know if you can sort of see it there, is fully retracted, because that's what keeps your fabric flat otherwise and will allow it to roll this way. And then just like normal, you put the fabric in. So again, this is going to give you a very narrow fold over, a very narrow finish, and the stitching will be visible afterwards. And as well, you do not finish your raw edges to begin with, because of course we're about to serge them again anyways. And one other thing to note is very often your blade will be down for this one as well. And as you stitch, the fabric will roll itself into the hem. As you can possibly see here, there's my raw edge within the stitching. If you'd like it to be more decorative, you can shorten the stitch length. And always make sure to do it with right sides up, because it will fold it into the bottom side as it stitches. If you're considering a Coverstitch machine, or if you have one but have yet to use the Coverstitch feature, this might help convince you or help you make your decision towards owning one, because the Coverstitch is a really easy hem to do. It can be used on both wovens and knits, and it makes such a wonderful finish. My machine is a combination serger and cover stitch machine. As you can see here, there's a few options that I can choose from. There's the triple stitch cover stitch. You can do it just a double stitch cover stitch, which is what I'm going to do today. You can do the fancy stitch where you've got the loops both on the top and the bottom. This is very nice for decorative finishes on garments. A lot of the sporting wear companies use this one. It makes a really nice finish to any garment. I have set up my machine according to the directions for the double needle cover stitch, and I have pre-pressed my 1-inch hem up on the bottom of my garment here. And as you can see here, there's little guides on the machine, and I'm going to use this little one here that matches up 1 inch from my left needle here. So I place my garment right side up to be stitched because it's going to basically serge the underside as you stitch. We don't need to finish our edge to begin with, the raw edge, which is really nice. This will give a nice finished edge when we're all done. I usually start the first couple stitches by hand. And then just keeping my folded edge along that one, I can go ahead and stitch this. And most of the time you're going to stitch this in the round. So as I get back to the first few stitches, I'm just going to stitch back over top by a few, overlapping it to secure the stitching. I've got a lever that releases the tension on my needle threads. I usually like to pull them out from underneath the foot just to ensure that I don't have to rethread the needles every time. Trim the needle threads, and then I'm able to pull out that bottom thread without any issues. And there we have our nicely finished double stitch on the outside and serged edge on the inside. And that's it. A few nice hems for you to use when you're sewing some garments. My name is Kimberly and I am signing off for Pattern Niche. And don't forget, if you liked our content of this video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date with all of the current videos. Have a great day.